All right, so this video is a response to Gavin McInnes, whatever his name. I'm sorry, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, but on his 10 ideas to save America, some of which are, I mean, to me, fairly obvious things that we already do. I think better than any other country. Maybe we could do a little better, but I don't. I would like to hear another country that does these things better, and some of which are just straight up terrible ideas to me, in my opinion. And I'll try to go through this as quickly as possible. So basically, the first one is abolish prison. That's one of those terrible ideas. Um, and he says, yada yada yada. Most people in prison don't need to be in prison. Drug offenders, people fake rapes, blah 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 blah. And then he says something silly like murder, like murder is such a rare crime, and murderers rarely murder again. Like that's. And just because you can find one murderer that murders again doesn't mean um I can't just find one murderer that murders again, Gavin. I can find probably more murders than I can count that will murder again because they're in gangs or something like that. Maybe you don't understand the situation in this country. I know you're from Canada, and so maybe that explains your naivety. But yeah, no, we have repeat offenders in this country, serious repeat offenders. We don't know what to do with. Abolish prison, terrible idea. Okay, give everyone guns. I mean, we already have more guns than most people, uh, and you seem to be one of those people who thinks that like there's no relationship between our guns, the fact that we have guns on the legal market, and the fact that criminals have illegal guns. Like you guys seem to think there's some sort of disconnect there. Like if you ban the guns, only the bad guys have guns. Like there's no actual relationship between the legal guns and the illegal guns. But the statistics that I've seen suggest otherwise, that most of the illegal guns are purchased on the legal market initially and then leaked onto the black market. We could do more to stop that, and I think we should. Um, so I'm in favor of legislation that would try to stop that. I'm not in favor of most gun legislation, but I'm also not one of those Wild West. Everybody needs a gun, like just fucking like basically idolizing guns. Or aren't? Isn't it great when everybody has a gun? Not always. Not always. There's a lot of people that shouldn't have guns. And mainly illegal guns, but making them so readily available legally makes them very easy to leak onto the black market. It just is what it is. We have to do something about that. You guys can keep ignoring it, but it is an issue for us. We have 1,100 murders a year in this country. You Canadians have no idea what it's like. No idea. Even though most of our worst cities are right on your border, you guys are fucking oblivious. All right. Legalize drugs. All right, fine, I guess. Except some of them are really bad, like meth and you know shit. I could see Walmart pushing meth, and it would still be a huge problem. But fine, whatever. I'm not big on the drug war, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. And welfare, save the black family. Not going to spend too much time on that either. Just going to note that he talks about how crime statistics in the 50s were so much better for black people. Economics in many black areas were also better for black people in segregation, uh, in Chicago, in Detroit, etc. When you desegregated the population, event basically what you saw was a flight of the black middle class from those communities, leaving only the people who were poor and now live in the housing projects and gang territories in those cities. So, yeah, black people. I mean, that's a common thing that the right likes to push, that the disintegration of the black family is a direct result of the welfare state. We also have to remember that this idealistic time that they point to was the same time when we were shooting them with fire hoses for asking for equal rights. So kind of an iffy issue. I don't know. I and Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Close the borders. I don't think we need to stop everybody from coming here, but I do think it's a problem. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Outlaw censorship, free speech. Well, here's the thing, because he's like, oh well, no, the government already does basically outlaw censorship. He admits that. Like the government doesn't let the government censor people, but he wants us to somehow outlaw people from being offended at other people as a form of like implicit censorship, which seems like cracking down on free speech to me, because it seems like you would have to basically make certain types of speech illegal or messages illegal. This certain outrage has to be illegal. So you're actually paradoxically censoring people. That's funny. Venerate the housewife. Yeah, that's what we need. We need more uppity women in this country. No. Yeah, he's right about this to a certain extent. That the what's it called? The career versus housewife thing. I'm not gonna disagree with him on that one. But once again, I think it's one of those areas where in the West we're far ahead of you guys or behind you guys, however you look at it in terms of that. Like we're much more traditional than Europe or Canada, I think. Glorify the entrepreneur. We do that more than anybody else. We already do that more than anybody else. Recognize the West is the best. We do that more than anybody else as well. Name me a Western country that's more bombastic and more nationalistic than us. Shut down the government. Anarchy. Dumb idea. And his justification is that easy pass or whatever. Roads. We don't need them for roads. Well, maybe we need them for schools. No, we don't need them for schools either, because we're going to do a vouchers, right? We're going to do vouchers where we can get private schools. Wait, where are the vouchers going to come from? Oh, the government. Oh. Mm. What about NASA? What about research? What about all the shit like the right wing has this sort of like almost fanatical dislike of the government in any form. Like there's this mythology that the DMV sucks, so government can't do anything, right? So just get rid of it. It's a silly idea. It's a very silly idea. The government invented computers, by the way. They invented the first computers. They basically laid the foundation for the internet. They invented, or they did research that led to the invention of most of the modern technology that we enjoy. Uh, Medical technology, entertainment, etc. Sometimes it takes, serious funding to do serious scientific research that a company just isn't going to sit around and say, well, let's just pour money into research on, measuring the distance between stars or some shit like that. They're just, there's not an immediate profit for them in it. So we need, the government to do it. And I think humanity really needs that sort of thing. You libertarians and anarcho-capitalists, I still put the imperative on you to go make your state, make your anarcho-capitalist state somewhere. Take a part of Canada. You guys ain't doing shit up there anyway. And just make it and make it work and show us how great it is. Don't expect us to buy it based on your sales pitch. We want to see it work first, I think. So that's my response to Gavin. Gavin, get your shit together, man.